Here we are back today, Shavuot, and we were talking previously regarding the spiritual line, and obviously it is a very important point and very important gift that came. This truly was extremely important because the guys outside would have to live by faith, and also they had to link themselves with the spiritual line because they don't have yet in themselves a direct link from Ruach HaKodesh. They were never trained, they don't have any kind of a function, and they have to have sustenance in the spirit, and then it is done through these spiritual lines set in Shavuot. And obviously, those also they would be linked with the Kadosh Kadoshims, and then the priests would be maintaining this spiritual line clear and clean. That's how they would know what was going on outside. And then obviously Ruach HaKodesh in the camp can then make plans because it's maintained. So then after so many years of neglect, and then obviously the witches, they have taken over this line mostly, and they have to get out of there. It's not for them to be involved in it. It was given from heaven for the usage of the goys, maintained by the priests of Yahweh, and the prayers of them in the Kadosh Kadoshim to maintain the spiritual line clear. Later on, because lots of Megillas they wrote, and then they began to be demonized, and then they invaded the spiritual line, and today is extremely contaminated. And then rather than coming life in the scriptures, rather than coming directions, then it comes junk, comes sexual desires, comes dirty thoughts, comes dirty dreams, and those should be out of there. What is from the dark remains in the dark. What is from the light is light, and this is what was contaminated. So then, as the Hebrew brothers, they return to their camps, and they begin to pray and minister to Yahshua, and he is Yahweh Yeshua, then the people outside they begin to be relinked back to what it was during the time of Shaul. This situation must change because the spiritual line was not for the usage of the witches. They are liars, liars from the inferno, and they direct people to destruction. This is what they do. Those are guides of demons. We must understand this point and make it clear. The guys outside, they are waiting for a spiritual line that is clean and clear so they can maintain themselves as quietly as branches are. And Yahshua was very explicit. Myself is the vine, is the plant. Myself is the spiritual line. Those who are saved, then they are grafted. They are linked with the spiritual line. It must be maintained as they were maintaining the presence of Yahweh in the temple, so would be in the future. It is a shadow picture, or a shadow understanding, prophetic shadow. And up to this moment there is only junk that comes from the spiritual line. Mostly sexual crap. And the guys are with no direction. And every time there is a problem, then they say witch, W-H-I-C-H, and then they get direction from inferno, from the spiritual dark places. And where is the word? The word is replete with their names, because the spiritual line was contaminated. It must be cleared away. And the existing Bible must be cleared away also, because Ruach Kodesh is the teacher, he is the guide, and then it was substituted by a junk, spiritual, dirty, from the spiritual dark world, guides of the spiritual dark world, and then people expect to be godly. How? They don't. It only gets worse. Until the Hebrew brothers, they return to their camps and they begin to minister to Yahweh Yeshua in a temple or in the tabernacles. And then they maintain the spiritual line clear. So then it makes sense what Yahshua said. Himself was the vine. The others are the branches. The goys would be granted and grafted in the vine via the spiritual line maintained. It was not only a stupid plant with stupid branches. It had a spiritual meaning behind it. Put your head to work. What was the spiritual sense of the priests in the temple? Maintenance. They would maintain the loyalty of what was given through Moses. It never changed. There was merely a transition from using dam of animals with the dam of his son. So they could maintain the goys outside being placed in a camp at times. Mostly important is to maintain them outside. That's why Yahshua said he himself was a plant. He was the vine. He was the spiritual line. Those who are then saved, they are then linked with him. And they live by faith. So then the priests in the Kadosh Kadoshim, they have an idea what's going on outside the camp when the gates are closed. So then they receive from heaven directions for the outside. And they are maintained. Though then they are doing the work outside, they are linked with the spiritual line. While they are providing for the camp, they are doing the work, they are doing the harvesting, they are doing the planting. They are involved with providing for the camp. Because they are in the midst of teaching another group. So then they are maintained. And they have their houses outside of the camp. They are living as normal persons. Yet they are linked from heaven in a spiritual line. So then they are contacts from Kadosh Kadoshims and those outside. They know what's going on. 24/7. And these witches, they have nothing to do with it. They are from the dark. They are thieves. You must understand, they are thieves. They are not guides. They are thieves. If they were positive guides, our nation would be thriving. And so much of them are around, we are being destroyed. And then obviously, these false anointing that came from Constantine, they are spending time in prayer but to destroy. They must understand, there are churches out there, they spend time in prayer to destroy the others rather than maintain them. Mostly related with the sexual sin, and it was the most popular sin of the time of Israel. And this is what we should be avoided. So then the priests of Yahweh would maintain the spiritual line set in Shavuot clear and clean. So the goys then they would receive direction. Come on, put your head to work. Since the goys, they don't have the functions, they don't speak the Hebrew language, they don't have, for instance, the understanding of prophecy. They must be shepherded. And during the time that they are shepherded, they must be linked somewhere. And they are linked with the spiritual line provided in Shavuot and maintained by the priests while they are ministering. So then with this understanding, a person can, this is what it was. Yes, this was a whole lot more that Yahshua spoke of. And then this spiritual line was stolen. And he used it then for the worst, because there is so much junk in it. Because it's not maintained. Whatever crap flows through, this is what crappy people are receiving. And then worse, because then people, they can get sustenance, they get more in depth in what the dark world is. Then they get designs in their skins, they get pierced in their body. Then they get demonic activity, they get in witchcraft, and then the nation is worsening and worsening and worsening. But no wonder people are using witches when they speak. What would they expect? Must return what was given. During the time of Shavuot, the line had to be maintained. This is what is required. So then the work of the ministry can continue. Shaul himself, myself not in person with you, but in a spirit. He was speaking of a direct link in a spirit. Much more coming up.